is the community member of Clearwater. This is the guest or our board member. Things that we talked about in our group. We started with, what are your priorities? Safety for kids, structure and stability, success, proven success, I guess, to be exact. Fairness and finances was brought up. To students and administration. Education, actually should have been the first one, that was probably the first I actually talked about. Opportunities that our children will have in the future. Trust, and also well-staffed administration, teachers and our administrators. We talked about how do we move forward. There was some talk of consolidation. There was some ideas of pre-K through 8th grade, maybe to stay here, maybe the high school would move to Orchard. That's just some ideas. The main overwhelming thing was to keep original motion. They do not want to undermine the original board, those group of individuals that put this all together. And stay with the board decision, I guess that goes with that. There was also some talk that when the numbers change, then maybe look at location move, and that could be years down the road. There was also one for look to the future, maybe build a new school out kind of in the middle to pull in more communities. Student concerns. The 2-year rotation, we don't think that's going to be viable. Bus rides on the county roads, that's just the dangers of that. There was also talk of how early the kids have to be picked up. Theirs might be out 12, 13 hours a day, by the time they get home at night. It's been a really long day for them. Treatment students, stability of where you'll be. If the student will struggle until they adjust, there's talk of sometimes it takes about 9 weeks for a child to adjust to the environment that they're in. And there's also one of the things, friends with the Orchard kids. They don't want to break those friendships. Keeping and retaining good teachers. I think that will be important. And they're worried about how many kids we might lose if we go to 2-year rotation since we're so close to Elgin, Neely, Ewing, several other schools. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I don't know whose paper this is. Anyone claim it? Sonia and Tom?
We started out our conversation with concerns, student concerns. And concerns about teacher turnover and its taxing on teachers and the toll on that. Talked about wanting to know what the students think about the rotation. Concerned about administrators and whether or not they're in favor of rotation, especially considering the need for a middle school principal to stay with middle school kids, for that consistency, at least for those kids. That was a concern. Concern with rotation numbers and at-risk kids and the effects on them. Concern that 2 years is not a reasonable time for acclimation. The worry of kids slipping through the cracks. And this is kind of tied, it's kind of tied into one of our how to move forward. And so it was brought up, by Orchard that maybe the 2 years isn't, hard decision, maybe that could be flexible. And so something like a 4-year rotation, so then this concern came from that. If we would go with the 4-year rotation, then that could mean that one kid for 8 years would not ever be in their building. And so that's where that came from. Then also, safety and there's big concern about stability and consistency, and I couldn't spell consistency without my spell check, so I scribbled it out. Loss of students, and then they viewed it similar to a disruptive, disrupting the home life by having the rotation. Then we moved to priorities after talking about concerns, and those included the top one, of course, valuing the education of our students most foremost. Then safety of our students, keeping and hiring teachers and administration. A priority is wanting it to work and to keep our kids together. And that a priority is to try and keep our schools working together in some capacity. And then we move to how to move forward. Possible variations of the number of years of rotation, not just 2, but what number is out there? Is there one that we would be willing to compromise on? Honoring the original agreement. No rotation at all, just sticking with whatever and avoiding a rotation at all. Additional transportation for some situations that are, special needs students or special circumstances that are out there that we need to do more to make it work. And maybe some kind of outside of the box compromise. We talked about that. And then mending or splitting after the 7-year agreement and giving us some time figuring it out, and when the 7-year agreement is over, then perhaps at that time changing and perhaps going our separate ways if that's what needs to happen. But staying the course until then was the idea. That's it.
Anyone claim this? Yours?
Let's see, we started off with priorities, and what we kind of talked about was what's best for the kids. We need to look at quality education, quality teachers, and we talked about maybe whether or not we need to look at a psychologist to see what the effect of kids would be on a rotation, in an outside opinion, a specialized opinion on something like that. We said there needs to be certainty, and we said maybe even ask the kids what they feel should happen. And in our discussion group, we kind of even talked about looking at the teachers we currently have that live outside the community, that work at one of the schools, kind of get their input. It would be more of an unbiased opinion, because the ones that live in the communities are going to have to be more biased. So look for somehow to get an unbiased opinion with the people we do have in our communities. Let's see what else. People were concerned about saying, if we let Orchard have the high school in 2 years, what's going to happen now? They're concerned about if we give in to them now, will they decide, oh, it's up in Orchard now, let's just keep it up in Orchard? That was a concern that was raised there with priorities. Moving forward, what was brought up is we need to look at the discussion. What can we do to move the discussion along and we need to communicate with the communities and the board that is, whether it's an ultimatum or if it's just a discussion that is being proposed now. Is Orchard just looking to have it be open for discussion, the rotation, or is it basically an ultimatum saying it's either this way or split type thing? And what we kind of said is maybe we agree to have it, let's kind of close the discussion for a while, but maybe after a certain period of time, 5 years, 10 years, open it, say we're going to open it back up for discussion at a certain period of time. So it's not a dead issue type thing. The concerns we had were with the students was it going to be difficult for them to rotate? A comment we had from one of the teachers in the group said it takes a good almost a good semester for the kids to get up to speed with where they were once the rotation happens. We talked about it's probably going to be difficult to hire teachers to come in here. I remember going up to when I was up at the Orchard meeting, I believe it was brought up, I think there's been, 22 new hires or since reorganization, so we've had a lot of turnover. We've got 36 teachers and we've rehired 22, so there's already been a lot of rotation with the reorganization. Granted, some of that's been retirement, but still there's a lot of teachers to hire in 4 or 5 year period. So we wonder if there's going to be a problem with hiring teachers.
One of the concerns was kids getting home late, and some of that came from high school parents, but after it got brought up, come to find out, even some of the middle school parents have some of the same concerns, and in my mind, those things need to be looked at. That stuff maybe the administration needs to work on, and I don't know if it's, the one-act coach or the basketball coaches or what the case is, or if the kids are doing something else, but that's a big deal, not getting those kids home on time. And so, but the other issue that was brought up too, somebody mentioned it here earlier, was a possible K-8, 9, 12. So that was talked about a little bit. So.
Thank you, guys. Next.
Okay, I guess I just wrote down comments as they came in, kind of lumped this all together. I didn't divide it out like everybody else. I guess that's why I'm not a teacher. One of the things that came up was kind of resounding in our group was that there would be a loss of students from our district due to a reorganization where we're transferring students every 2 years. Heard from several parents in there that felt if their students had to be moved every 2 years, they would remove them from the district. It wasn't an option. Concern about decreasing grades after the rotation. In regards to that, I referred to a letter that Mr. Martin had sent to all the parents in 2014, and it was this distinct drop in students' grades after they were tested in the 4th grade year, then retested the 5th grade year. Students dropped from, I think it was 74% to a 65% testing average for their mathematics. So I think that was a huge concern, was grades after we make rotation, and then moving them every 2 years, are just going to be doing more and more detriment to the kids. Safety with travel was a big issue. We discussed that when this was originally set up by the original boards, that was one of the reasons that the high school was going to stay at the facility that had the largest number of students, because it would mean less students on the roads driving. So safety became kind of a concern. A lot of people wanted to know what the opinions of the teachers were, how they feel about rotating sites every 2 years. I guess, has that been discussed by the board? Would the teachers stay with the high school students, or would they be teaching a new curriculum and teach high school for 2 years, then teach 7th, 8th grade 2 years, where they have to come up with a new curriculum? And they would like to hear from some of the teachers tonight if they're willing to do that. Would it cause us to lose teachers because they would have to do that? We did hear from one person in the group who has a husband that has done that already, and he likes it. He likes teaching high school, and he enjoyed having the younger students to teach in junior high. So one of the other things related to that was also transferring all equipment, supplies. How are we going to do that? How are we going to bring somebody in? And the teacher's going to be responsible for moving their classrooms every 2 years. And it was brought up about the shop class that he's had to move his classroom twice already. They have personally done that, he and his wife. It's been wear and tear on them, and also on the equipment, to be transferring stuff back and forth all the time. Difficulty for the students to acclimate every 2 years. More difficult for special ed students that just come from a teacher in our group. She thinks that the rotation every 2 years is very hard for them to adjust. And yeah. Consistency leads to success. That was kind of resounding with the students if they're left in one site. Consistency helps them to be more successful. Questions about, could this become legally binding if we try to continue this? Could it be made so that there's some kind of a legal contract so that in 2 years when we have a different group of board members, we aren't doing this all over again? Is there any way that we can make it legal? We did agree that both schools would suffer from a split. I think that everyone kind of is in agreement. We would like to see it worked out some way if we could. Not sure exactly what that answer would be. 2 years did not seem to be the right answer in our group, but they would like to see us stay together and continue with some sort of a co-op. Classes that are together in the larger groups, they feel that there's more competition between the students. Having larger numbers is better, creates more competition between the kids. So having larger groups is better for them. It's better for them socially also. Did hear from one of the teachers too saying that even with them rotating, they need some time to adjust. It's hard for the teachers themselves to adjust to a rotation all the time. So that not just affecting the students, but also the teachers. Cost of equipment, I think fear of splitting would be detrimental. We did hear one story of a student who's already graduated, very successful, went on to college, been very successful. So I do think there is the sense that this is working, it has worked. Can we continue to make it work in the future so that everybody's in agreement with what we're doing? Did I miss anything? Anything else, Marty? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think this one is Regina. Yes? Or no? Yes. Okay.
Okay, we started out with what our priorities were, and our priority was keeping the school because someone had talked about was the possibility of if we divided, then not having enough students for activities and things, and we would lose kids, and then we would maybe have to join with different schools. We talked about the evaluation was really a determining factor in this situation. We talked about too that every 2 years was too often, and we also talked about the at-risk kids. I pointed out that with my job, I work with kids that are state boards of the Department of Health and Human Services, and how the state of Nebraska likes to try to keep kids in the school if they were moving from the home, that they also see that that's a big importance, is keeping kids at the school. And I've seen them transport kids 20, 30 miles just to keep them in the same school that they've been going to. We talked about the cost of transportation was an issue. We also talked about the safety of the kids on the road and that there would possibility be more kids on the road. We talked about consistency and hiring new teachers when we have a problem with hiring new teachers. Moving forward, we had just talked about the possibility of a K-8 site and a 9-12 site. And we talked again about the longer rotation period. And we talked also about the possibility of teachers moving with the students.
Safety, stability, and structure. A concern was teachers having to rotate their curriculum. Teachers need stability as well as the students, special ed students, how well they or don't accept change. And that's been mentioned, I know, in several of the groups. We focused a lot, it was brought up many, many times, that this has to be something that's good for all the kids, not just Clearwater or Orchard, it has to be all of the kids. And out of that came the special ed students, and that all kids need routine and structure. And also consistency was brought up for the kids and the staff. A larger number of students traveling, a higher probability of accidents, that came under safety, puts more liability on the school. The concern was trying to hire good teachers if it's not a stable environment versus having to change every 2 years. It's harder to hire teachers if they know they're going to have to move every 2 years. And we did talk a lot about, people brought up how they have talked to a lot of parents that said, if we have to do this every 2 years, then our students are not, or our kids aren't going to stay here. They would choose another school. How do we move forward? This was pretty unanimous, was to honor the current agreement, not change it, with an amendment, come up with a number. When we talked about, we read that and it said a significant change, that we need to come up with either a number or a percentage of the students or whatever, so it's more concrete, so everybody knows if it hits that number, then there could be, or that there would be a change. And I think someone else brought up that we would have to do, let's see, be done with it. We should come up with a number for an amendment for the significant change and then just continue on. We also need to define what an extended period of time means, whether that means if that stays for 2 years or 5 years, that needs to be more definitive. Somebody brought up building a new school in a cornfield, and it would be called Children of the Corn. Or just building a high school. Again, what's best for the kids? That kept coming back as a resounding issue. Some people thought that the focus is being lost. It's being based on money instead of the kids. Money doesn't matter, but the kids do. The focus is lost for what I have versus what you have. And money shouldn't matter, the kids do, and that we already, our whole communities are compromising. And then back to education. Oh, that was, okay, one of the concerns, the education. One fella in our group said, or he asked, does anybody have any personal experience as grown-ups, like having to move schools? And they raised their hand and they said it took them the entire semester. I think he moved when he was in 3rd grade, or was it 4th grade, 5th grade, something like that. And it took him the entire semester before he felt acclimated to the new environment. Time to adjust to a new school, we said approximately 6 months. Personal experience of moving schools. And we talked about there's so much focus on the high school. It just seems like everybody keeps talking about the high school. And we talked about the junior high struggles, moving, having to move back and forth. Junior high is hard enough without having to move schools. And the last point somebody made was, if we did do this every 2 years, that the administration would all have to rotate also so they know what it feels like.